everybody. It's Wednesday, December 9th, and we're continuing on with our Advent season. And we're going to talk about the kind of peace that Jesus wants to give us. And our verse today is out of Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 through 30. So let me read those for you, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. These should be pretty familiar verses to you. It says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." I don't know how many times I've read those verses and thought about them, and always kind of wondered about some things that I never really had settled in my mind. But I've actually kind of come to I think a little better understanding of the context in which Jesus was speaking when he uttered these words. The Jewish people that he was talking to at the time that he spoke those words were living under a religious system that was based on self-righteousness, of a attempt to earn a right standing with God. And to that end, the Pharisees mainly, the others, Sadducees also, but the Pharisaical traditions had been developed that basically refined and added to the basic laws of God, and they just kept adding and adding and adding. As somebody once said, there was over 600 laws just about keeping the Sabbath, all by itself. And so they had created this system whereby it was a lot of work. It took a lot of worry and concern to see yourself as pleasing to God by keeping all these laws, the vast majority of which were not true laws of God, but traditions of men. And of course, Jesus attacked that very issue when he was on the earth and told them, listen, you're teaching as the law of God, traditions of men. And he went right at their jugular, and he kind of unleashed on them and exposed their hypocrisy. So when Jesus says, listen, come to me, all you that are weary and burdened, what were they weary and burdened with? Am I doing enough? Am I good enough? Am I keeping the law? How many times did people come to Jesus and ask him, which is the greatest law? They needed to know because they were oppressed by this idea of they must work in order to be pleasing to God. And Jesus is trying to tell them, listen, it doesn't work that way. The Apostle Paul, in his writings, tell us, listen, nobody is acceptable in God's eyes by their own righteousness. The scriptures tell us all of our righteousness are as filthy rags in the eyes of God. And so when Jesus said, listen, now, are you burdened? Are you weary? Are you burdened? Then come on over here because I've got some rest for you. And what is our rest? Our rest is in the fact that Jesus is telling us, stop carrying this burden of being acceptable to God by your works. Let me carry that for you. And that's exactly what he did. In his perfection, he accomplished in his life what none of us can accomplish. We can't live that perfect life. We can't carry that kind of burden. And so Jesus did it for us. And that's what he was talking about when he said, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. We can forget about the self-righteousness of the Pharisee type of an attitude, and we can just concentrate on accepting the work of Jesus Christ for us in our lives. Now, does that mean that we don't need to worry about, living a holy life? Well, of course not. it does mean, and I shouldn't even use that word worry. You know, as we give ourselves to the Lord, we believe in Him, and we then begin to step out in commitment to His Lordship after we are saved, then that's our singular idea. That's our singular, motivation in life, is that from a motive of love, obedience, and looking forward to the rewards we will receive because we do it, we serve Him. And we let our lives just blossom naturally because we love Him so much. And we know that He has done the heavy lifting for us. And so then, He did it in a humble and gentle attitude. And that's probably the same kind of an attitude that we need to have. Lord, I'm not good enough. I never was good enough. I never will be good enough. But I thank You that You gave me what I could not earn on my own. And because of that, I humble myself under Your lordship. I give myself to You and experience You lifting me up and supporting me as I walk my path for You in this life. Do you want to have the kind of peace that Jesus is offering? Then quit trying on your own. If you're not saved, if you're not a child of God, you're never going to get there through your own works. And if you are a child of God, even after you're saved, you need to understand that we just rest in the complete, perfect righteousness of Jesus Christ and let Him bless our lives to ultimately come back as a sacrifice of praise, pleasing to God. Think about it. I hope you enjoyed this one. We'll see you next time.